and Chris O'Grady. Just come right in.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hey, Chris.
Doing fantastic, Chris. Glad to have you on our show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Chris. So we're going to jump right into the questions here. You are originally from New York, and when you were a little kid, what was your favorite team as a kid, and what team did you want for when you grow up?
Oh man, I grew up 20 miles north of Yankee Stadium, so I grew up in the pinstripes. You know, always wanted to be a Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
So having Derek Jeter as my boss for a while was pretty cool.
Can't imagine.
Johnny
That's
Baseball's
crazy.
pretty cool to play for, isn't he?
Oh, it's unbelievable. He's a great guy to play under. Great manager.
Good. Well, let me ask you a question here, Chris. You attended Clarkston High School, and you played baseball and football there. You were a quarterback at one time. Unfortunately, pardon me?
I said, yeah, I was.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, you tore 3 ligaments in your right knee, which resulted in you missing the senior season. How long did it take for you to recover, and what was the reason, or basically, is that the reason that you decided to play baseball full time?
Well, I always knew I was a little better at baseball. I mean, I was pretty good at both, but baseball was really definitely my go-to sport. You know, I actually planned on playing football in college as well. I had a couple of scholarships ready to go, baseball and football, so I was going to be a multi-sport athlete in college, and then, you know, once the knee injury happened, football was pretty much out the window, and actually right after it happened, they didn't even know if I would be able to play baseball again, so, you know, just being able to get back to that and do anything, really, I was ecstatic.
Yeah, I know about injuries. I had a knee injury when I was in high school as well, so man, it was really a downer for me, I could tell you that. Yeah,
not fun. It took me, the knee injury happened my second game of my senior year in football, so it was early September, and the rehab went very well. I had a very good surgeon and good therapist and stuff like that, so I ended up coming back a lot sooner than everyone thought. I ended up pitching 2 innings at the very end of my senior year of high school, which was great. I got to come in one of the last games and struck out the side, so, you know, it was pretty much a storybook ending to come back like that and then get to go off to college and play. So worked out well. Haven't had a problem with the knee since.
I bet that made the scouts take notice, didn't they?
Yeah. It was funny actually because, you know, I was playing in a travel baseball league at the same time as my football season, and I had a couple college coaches to come watch me Saturday morning pitch, and, you know, so Friday night when I hurt my knee, I showed up to the game the next day on crutches, and saw about 3 or 4 college coaches kind of looking at me funny, like, what's going on here? So, you know, I did have a couple scholarships that no longer were offered to me. You know, a couple colleges didn't really want to take the chance on my recovery, but luckily George Mason was more than willing, and worked out great. You know, my brother was pitching there at the time, so I got to spend 3 or 4 years in college with my older brother, which was great.
Yeah, speaking of George Mason University, when you were playing football, did you think you had to get to the major league? Because you're pitching in college and, like, you know, you're trying to get better every single day. Did you think you had what it takes to get to the MLB and get drafted?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, even in high school, I was getting recruited a little bit by some pro scouts. You know, who knows if the knee injury never happened, there was a chance I would have got drafted out of high school. But, you know, it's hard to say I'm glad that it happened, but, you know, I'm happy with how everything turned out, you know, so who knows what would have happened if I had never hurt my knee. Could have went to a different college, and who knows what would have happened, you know. No saying I would have made it to the big leagues then. So, you know, I'm happy with the way things turned out. I think it put a lot of things in perspective for me. It made me appreciate baseball a lot more, not being able to play and not knowing if I was going to be able to play again. So, you know, I wouldn't change a thing, actually.
Yeah, Chris, definitely. It's all that matters that you got drafted, right? You know, the same it could have been a different route, could have ended in a different outcome, like you said. And at least you got drafted and you're playing Major League ball, and that's all I care.
Absolutely.
Now, the Angels, they drafted you in the 10th round of the 2012 draft. What was your first thought once you found out you were drafted?
Oh, man, that was the best day of my life up until, the day I got the call to go to the big leagues. But that was unbelievable. I had my whole family there, and it's funny how it worked out because with the way the draft works, they did the first 10 rounds, or they did the first 2 rounds the first day, I think, and then so on day 2 of the draft, they did, rounds 2 through 10 or 3 through 10, and, the Angels were calling me in like the 8th and 9th round saying, hey, we're looking to take you in the 10th, so, which was the last round of the day, and I had my family over and a bunch of friends coming over to celebrate because we knew I was going to get drafted. We were just waiting to see when. So the end of the day comes and, it's the 10th round, and now I got everyone at my house, and we're waiting to get the call, and then they call me saying that they might not take me in the 10th. And it would have just been, kind of a downer, a little embarrassing to have everyone over ready to celebrate, and then it not happen until the next day. But it worked out great. We were on the edge of our seats, and we didn't even know until they actually announced it over the podcast they were doing for the draft. And, my whole family just went crazy. It was amazing. I have a video of it and everything, too. It worked out really well.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And another thing here, when the Marlins actually took you in, you signed a minor league deal with Miami on May 4th, 2017. What was your first thought about going to the Marlins organization?
Oh, I was excited. I mean, to be honest, I was very shocked when I got let go by the Angels because I had actually had one of probably my best spring training of my career. I pitched really well in camp over there, didn't give up any runs, only 3 hits all spring, stuff like that. So, I was pretty shocked when they let me loose. So, I came home to Arizona for a few weeks, and when I finally got the call that I was going over to Miami, I couldn't have been more excited. I knew a couple people over here. I know Mattingly's the manager, stuff like that, so it was great. It was a really good opportunity for me, and really, that's exactly what I thought I needed was just a new team because I felt like I'd proved myself enough with the Angels. But, sometimes certain organizations are looking for different things, and turns out I just need to get with the right organization because, 2 months later I was in the big leagues, so it worked out great.
Well, if you look back a little bit in history, there was a Rule 5 draft, and Cincinnati had taken you, but you didn't make the team. They sent you back to the Angels. If you or anybody or in any way like me, you got to say to yourself, okay, I didn't make it here, but I'm going to prove myself to everyone that they made a mistake, and I'm going to come out of the gate smoking, and they're going to regret it. Did you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. It kind of lit a fire under me a little bit because, it was a good thing because, one, I knew that, hey, there's teams out there that do want me in the big leagues or think that I can be in the big leagues right now. And, unfortunately, it didn't happen with Cincinnati. It came right down to the last cut. But, it made me just think, like, hey, I'm that close right now, so I'm not going to give up. And, I'm right there. And it's actually a funny story that you mentioned that because I was actually looking at your guys' page the other day. I saw you had Dan Straley on here a few weeks ago.
Yes, we did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really funny because, Dan, being an older guy, veteran, kind of mentored me a little bit when I got up to Miami. So, I was very thankful to have him there. He helped me out a lot. But it was funny. We ended up finding out that year, I think 2 years ago when I was with Cincinnati for spring training, I made it all the way to the last cut. I actually thought I was going to make the team. And then on one of the last days of spring training, all my gear and my clothes for the season were already in Cincinnati. We were getting on a plane the next day, so I was pretty sure I was making the team. And they called me in the very last day and said, hey, unfortunately you didn't make it. I'd found out that they had ended up picking up another pitcher who had just opted out of a contract, and as soon as they grabbed him, they had to let me go. Which happens, and then I came to find out that it was actually Straley that they had picked up that day. So,
Wow.
it all turned out good. It was really that they